Hello friends, Karla back today for Creative Scrapbooker magazine, and today we're doing a project with some Elizabet Craft Designs dies and stamps and paper, and we brought in a few other things, and we are going to make a type of mini journal or junk journal. So I'm going to give you a look at what we'll be using. We'll probably bring in a few other things, but we'll start off with this. So the Elizabet Craft products that we have today are the Journal File XL1, and the number on this is 2016 if you're looking for it. It's the Art Journal series, and you can see that it's quite a long die that you can then fold wherever you like and make it into a little mini art journal or a card even. You can fold it and fold it over to make several different variations. If you do any kind of jelly plate or just playing around with mixed media, you're probably left with lots of different papers that you haven't used up for backgrounds, and I thought maybe we'll play around with doing some die cutting with those and add those into our little mini book or whatever it ends up to be, our little journal. This stamp set is CS295 and it's Journal Your Life. I really love the images that are in here. We've got some My Life, Top Secret, Filed, My Story. We've got some text here, which is great. And then we've got the typewriter, various writing instruments. This looks like it could be ink. Love the little journal clip and the stamp and the Journal Your Life stamp. And then we've got this worn wood paper. It's a patterned cardstock paper pack, and it comes with 12 sheets of paper. I have cut into it already, so there's some that are a few different sizes here, but when you get them, they're 12 by 12, and then you even have the back side of this sheet. So just really, really great papers that you're going to be able to use for lots of things. We've got some Scrapbook Adhesives by 3L. I thought some of these images, when we color them in, we would use some ClickArt markers. These are a new set that Zebra Pen has just brought out, another 12, and they are the light colors. So some really beautiful colors in here. Then we've got some Distress Oxides from Ranger. Those are always fun. And then I have a bunch of various backgrounds or tags, and we'll just see what we end up using. I have die cut out with the small folder die, the various papers and worn wood papers from the pack, and just created kind of an assortment here. I've got that fun paint splat cut out of some watercolor paper, and you can see all these fun tags and die cut pieces, and it just gives them such a great mixed media element, and it's a great way to use up your stash as well. Here's the large folder. We're going to fold that to create a little mini book there. I'm using my Tonic 12-inch trimmer, and this is from the Elizabet Craft Worn Wood Paper Pack. I'm cutting it just to show you how this die cuts, and I flipped one of those pieces around. You can use the front or the back of the die cut in order to get the tab at either end. Now I'm going to score my folder, and I scored it at 3 3/4 and then 7 5/8. I'm adding a little bit of Distress Oxide ink around the edges. I pulled out a few colors here. In a minute you'll see. And I'm going to add different elements on each of those background papers. This text stamp is really great. The splatters are really cool, and so I just go and add each of those stamps that I feel like would be a nice addition to the background, to all the different elements, as well as the cover. And the Oxide stamp nicely on dark or light cardstock. All of the Elizabet Craft dies work so nicely together, and I wanted to create a little pocket, so I pulled out the Sidekick Essentials 6, one of the dies in that set, and it makes this great little pocket. I had some music note paper that I just backed with some white cardstock because it was fairly thin, and I die cut both pieces out to make this little pocket that I'm going to add into my album. I'm adding a little bit of stamping just to add some color and interest there. I folded and creased the folds with the Tonic bone folder, which is great. And I really love this circle stamp. It looks like an ink stain, or it could even be a coffee stain. I think it just makes a really great background stamp. The light Distress Oxides, the Lost Shadow and the Shaded Lilac that I have here, look so great on dark cardstocks. They really pop. It's often helpful to swatch your ink so you can see how they react to different colors and types of cardstock. And this is a great way too to just play around and see how they look. I have some reinforcers and some brads, so I'm just putting that little pocket together. I've also grabbed my media mat and the Easy Dot Runner from Scrapbook Adhesives by 3L. I like working on the media mat. When I'm putting adhesive on, I find that the adhesive doesn't stick to it and only sticks to my project. I have die cut one of these die cuts from a piece of cardstock, and I'm actually using it as a stencil with my ink. So I can just place it in different areas on the different backgrounds. Now I'm going to place the little file folder inside that larger folder and create the pages. I've got the love circle on top of the paint splat, and I've grabbed the OLFA scissors just to trim off some twine, and I'm using a tag that I had added some mixed media or sprays to at one point. And here's that little envelope that I'm adding on to my first page. So here I kind of go back and forth. If I see a spot where I feel like I've got some scraps and they'll fit, that's what I'm starting to do. I'm adding some scraps. I'm adding any die cuts to the pages where I feel like they might go. Now I've pulled out the ClickArt markers. These are 12 new colors, and I'm using the Lavinia watercolor paper. It's really nice and smooth, so it works really well with the ClickArt markers. I colored directly on the watercolor paper and then just use my Nuvo watercolor pen to pull the color out and shade it. And you do want to use an archival ink that's waterproof when you're stamping. Now here I'm just demonstrating, if you have a cardstock that's not smooth, how you can still get your ink on smoothly just by putting it onto your media mat first. I colored in all of the images, and I'm using the OLFA scissors to trim out those images and just fussy cut them. These are really great for fussy cutting. I think they're little stitching scissors, so they're nice and sharp and they're small. And if you move the paper instead of the scissors, you can really get a nice clean cut, and it's pretty quick. That typewriter is so awesome. I also have a 1/2 inch circle punch. I'm cutting out these little circles. and I printed 2 photos filled with 6 photos each. I used the Project Life app just to add those to my photo and use my selfie to print it. I have a sticker book from Simple Stories, and I've just grabbed the stickers and I'm putting them in the book. They're a fairly neutral collection. That is the Simple Vintage Weathered Garden collection, and the colors and images I felt like just added a nice element. I also cut my mats to 2 by 2, and I'm adding my photos onto just some white cardstock, and I'm just going into each page, layering in stickers and the photos and any sentiment stickers that I feel like would work. Those tweezers are from Elizabet Craft, and they really help when you're placing die cuts or stickers onto your page to get them on evenly. And I stamped some of those words from the stamp set and just fussy cut those out as well. I really love the little binder clips that they have, and there's so many elements that you can just go ahead and layer. Then I'm adding the rest of my title onto the book, and I'm just using some letter stickers in that sticker book. There's some pretty butterflies, so those add on nicely, and there's lots of small words, so I felt like those would go really nicely onto the tabs of the folder. I'm going to add in my journaling by using my Zebra mechanical pencil and OLFA grid ruler to add some journaling lines. I've grabbed some Sarasa porous pens from Zebra Pen to do some journaling. These come in a variety of colors, and they have a really nice fine point, which is great for journaling. I've added some lines around different pages and some of the tags. So here's a look at the completed album. I'm so happy with how this turned out. This was our visit to the Calgary Public Library downtown, and we hadn't seen it, so it was quite big and impressive. Here's the little pocket that I've added in, and I added some journaling about things that I'm reading, as well as a note about our trip to the library. And I thought this was fun just to have in that little almost secret pocket. And that's a look at outside the library, the statue that's there. And we've got some pictures just of the inside of the architecture, which was so cool. They had a vintage typewriter there, and that was definitely one of the highlights the girls got to use. I love looking back on all these photos, and just sitting down to do the journaling really makes me so thankful about all the things that we saw. Thank you so much for hanging out with me while I created this journal, and I hope you have an amazing and very crafty day.